Hi guys, it's James here from BearWolf Training. We're talking about hamstring tightness, or sometimes just the perception of hamstring tightness. It's something that a lot of people kind of, let's say, complain about, but mention that my hamstrings are tight, and they definitely can be, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you have this perception of the hamstrings being tight, and it comes down to quite often the pelvic position, and it actually creating more of a pull on the hamstring in terms of your position. And what we mean by pelvic position, so if you was to kind of look from the side or a side-on view of yourself, you have this tilt forward, so the hips actually tilt forward. If you think about it like a bucket of water, and it was a full bucket, if you was to tilt your hips forward, then that water would kind of pour out the front, okay? If you went into a posterior tilt, it'd be the other way, so that bucket would be flat and the water would stay in. So there's this anterior tilt, or the bucket pouring the water out the front that we're kind of talking about. And it's a nice little assessment that you can do pretty easily on yourself. So like I say, you can either look at yourself side onto a mirror, or you can get yourself onto the floor, and you can just basically see how much room there is between the floor and your lower back, or that lumbar spine. If it's really flat and there's like no gap there whatsoever, then you're probably going to be in a posteriorly tilted pelvis, and that means that you may actually have tight hamstrings. If there's a real big gap under there, and you struggle to even pull that down so that the lower back does sit flat, then you may have that anteriorly tilted pelvis, which means that the hamstrings themselves might actually not be tight at all, and it's down to the postural position that you have the issue. So the hamstrings are going to run right from kind of the bottom of your pelvis. The easiest way to think about that is kind of the bony bit right at the bottom of your bum, and it's going to run down the leg, on the back of the leg, sorry, and it actually kind of wraps around to the front of the knee. So as you can see on the band, we've got the band underneath the butt cheek, right up into the pelvis, and it's going to run down, and we're going to stop it just behind the knee so you guys can kind of see what we're talking about. If I roll into that anterior tilt, you'll be able to see that the stretch on the band, it stretches, it lengthens out, and there's more tension there. If I posteriorly tilt, then you're going to see some of that tension remove itself from the band, i.e. then taking that kind of feeling of tight hamstrings away. So one of the most common mistakes that people make when they have, obviously, tight hamstrings, or this feeling of tight hamstrings, is they stretch their hamstrings, and as you would do normally. The problem with this is, if you actually don't have tight hamstrings and it's down to a postural position, then lengthening those hamstrings out further and further is actually going to kind of fuel the problem. It's going to allow the pelvis to continue to rotate forward, this anterior tilt, which is actually, like I say, it's going to make it worse, and you're never going to fix that feeling of the hamstrings being tight. So if you have the anterior tilt, and it's not actually a genuine kind of hamstring tightness, we need to address the musculature on the front. So we need to see what's kind of pulling that pelvis forward. So it could be a muscle in the front of the leg, one of the quadriceps, that we call a rec fem, or a rectus femoris. And one of the things that can really help that is couch stretch, and we have looked at that in previous videos. The other thing there is actually coming up into the abdominals a little bit, and it's something called a psoas. And in terms of a psoas stretch, it's kind of a similar setup to what you would do in a couch stretch, but the legs don't need to be in an aggressive position. So setting up for the psoas stretch, you get yourself into the position 1 of your couch stretch, that nice easy lunge step, that pelvis tucked under and that bum squeezed. You then rotate your body, keeping your hips fairly square, away from your bent leg. Then you take that arm, so again, if you're rotating away from your bent leg, the opposite arm, you take it up over your head, and you would lean away, kind of towards your bent leg, I guess. That's going to give you that stretch up through the front of the hip and up into that psoas muscle. You may not feel it in the abdominals as such, but if you get that rotation, you get the reach and the lean, then you'll be hitting into that psoas muscle. So with both couch stretch and the psoas stretch, we're looking to increase that range. So as always, we're probably looking to accumulate somewhere around the 2-minute mark. And I say accumulate, so if you can't hit that position all at once, absolutely fine. You can get yourself into that stretch, find it, hold it, come out, reset. You're looking to accumulate that time. So they're the things that are going to be tight. You may also have weakness coming through the abdominals. So when that pelvis tilts forward, the abdominal muscles, they can lengthen and they can become weak. So we actually have an activation drill for those stomach muscles, which was nice and easy to do on the floor, and it gives you that feedback. And what I mean by feedback is you actually feel your lower back ideally pressing down into the floor. So the way that you set this up is you lay yourself down on your back, feet flat initially, so your knees are bent, arms out to the side. You would posteriorly tilt your pelvis, again, so you're looking to flatten that lower back down into the floor and hold that contraction. Then you can actually work just kind of into and out of that position for pelvic rolls, or you can progress that one step further by going into that contracted position and then adding in a slight crunch, I guess, and looking to lift the shoulder blades off the floor and hold. It's an isometric hold to try and get some strength into the abdominals. Again, that is a process that you could repeat for repetitions with a slight pause in that contraction. So if you're just doing the pelvic rolls, maybe you do anywhere from 5 to 10 reps with a slight 2 to 3 second pause in the contraction. If you're looking for the more advanced, again maybe 2-3 sets, but looking to spend longer in that position, 10, 20, even 30 seconds. So first things first, assess your pelvic position. Use that simple assessment just to see if you are anteriorly tilted or posteriorly tilted. If you are posteriorly tilted, get after your hamstring stretches. If you feel like you are in that anterior tilt, try these drills. Let us know how you get on. If you're not quite sure, you can't quite decipher where that pelvis is, then let us know. Small little thing there is expect a small amount of that anterior position. It is absolutely fine. It's natural, okay? It's only that kind of excessive position that I would really be kind of getting after these drills for, all right? But try it out in that order, assess the pelvis, get after those drills, and as always, kind of let us know how you're getting on, guys.